Well, welcome everybody. Welcome all the viewers to this Q&A after the impressive eco thriller Wood. And I'm talking to the main character Alexander von Bismarck and the three directors Ebba, Sinzinger, Michaela, Kirst, and Monica Lăzurean-Gorgan. If I see it. So welcome everybody, and so I'm so thrilled to speak to you. I just wanted to say, from where are you now sitting, Alexander? Where are you now?
I'm in Washington D.C. in my home.
Sorry, in Washington D.C.
Yeah.
Okay, and Ebba?
I'm in Vienna, also my home.
Okay, Michaela?
I'm in Berlin, in the office actually.
All right, and Monica?
Hey, I'm in Bucharest, Romania.
Okay, yes. So I just wanted to start, but how did this film start? Who had the idea to follow the main character Alexander? Who can answer that question?
I came with the initial idea because in Romania this is an issue that we should consider, and it was a burning issue in those times. Illegal cutting or abusive cutting of forest, of trees. So I wanted to, to do something about the cause of the forest with the tools of my métier, let's say. And in the same time, I wanted to make it a bigger, an international film, not just a film for the Romanian audience. So then I approached Ebba, experienced producer from Austria, because we in Romania in this topic we have some Austrian elements, and so it started from here.
Yes.
Yes.
Ebba?
And I was, at that moment, I was just working with Michaela on a film about sex and the pill.
All right.
It really fitted, no. And I knew that Michaela made another film about Sasha von Bismarck. So I thought that he could be a very good link in this international context. And Michaela also thought about that a lot.
Yeah. So when we were just discussing, and I just had finished the film with Alexander von Bismarck and his organization EIA. It was a film mainly targeted for a television audience, but I always felt that the work is really, really important, and that it would be the right thing to do a feature-length movie. And so when then we discussed with Ebba and Monica, we all three of us kind of came from different directions and joined forces. I thought that's really the right thing to do. Let's do that.
Okay, Alexander, so where did you jump in? You already knew Michaela, and how did that go?
Brought it to my attention and connected us to Monica and the particular situation of illegal logging in Romania. And we looked at it, and we have to choose our campaigns carefully, but it really looked like it had a unique situation where we were right in the backyard of Europe, not in the usual places where we are kind of fighting the fight normally. It's in the Congo Basin or in the Amazon. But the fact that there was actually such a problem of illegal logging in our backyard, so to speak, seemed like a really important opportunity to try the fight there and see what solutions might be possible where there's kind of more capacity, and maybe that would give us ideas for how to be more successful elsewhere. And that's kind of what ended up happening. So I was really grateful to be kind of brought to Romania, if you will. Yeah.
So it was in the backyard, but still you three directors decided to do also to other parts of the world, the taiga China connection and the Peru connection. Why did you choose to add those two places as well?
Now, actually, we thought that we wanted to make one case that EIA is close to finishing, and then we used Peru as a thing that starts, because they are working parallel on many, many, many different things, and we just had to choose things that are, and the Romanian story should be the main story. You know, that was the idea. So we follow it from the beginning to the end.
Yeah, Michaela?
Yeah, I think, you know, it was also that, you know, I mean, it's true that we brought EIA to Romania, but otherwise we really followed their work, you know, so it means like those were the cases they were working on at that given moment. And during filming in Romania, you know, I mean, most of the research was also done by EIA, by the organization, and not by us. So I think that's also important to say that we followed them in a way. Otherwise,
yeah. So Alexander, you said I was happy that this film could be made, but still, then you are the main character and you are the most important person, because you have to film, you have this concealed camera or audio. So how can you tell me something how that was to be so important in filming the things you do?
Well, I don't know about important, but it was a lot to think about, that's for sure. And you know, our general model is to get the story out, so it's not unusual to ultimately tell the story, but it is unusual to have a film crew along at every step of undercover work. It's not always the best tactic if you're trying to be effective in that way. So it was a challenge at times, but you know, we were made aware of Romania, of the problem, but we had to think a lot about whether we should take this on, and we really analyzed it. And for the reasons I said, we thought this would really fit into the global campaign we have to try to tackle illegal logging and to help local people fight the fight. And it just seemed in this case that it was really worth it to allow totally new access to our effort, to show the whole story, and you know, get people thinking about this problem, which is devastating the forests all around the world. It was worth it in our sense, for sure.
Yeah. Monica, because the main part is about Romania. So what was your role in directing this? Was it Romania really under your wings?
I mean, it was not just me participating in some shootings. In other shooting was just me with the rest of the crew. We were always talking. So from the filming point of view, we were always talking. Maybe 2 of us out of 3, we were on set or not. I was also in the beginning doing research also from the other side, like some location, some situation, this and that. But it was interesting. It was very dynamic. It was with many changes of plans. But yeah, everything went well, and yeah, it worked out just fine, I would say.
Yeah, Alexander, could you give us some insights in your methods? Because how do you investigate, and how can you come that close?
Well, we've never given more insights than this movie, so I feel like that's, you know, you've just got a lot of insights into how we do our work. But it's you know, the reason we do it is because in the global trading system, there's a lot of crime that can hide. You know, you buy the usual things you buy, and you do not know what is really behind that at all the stages. And maybe most importantly, when the first raw material is cut down, like the trees. And so we do a lot of work with data and all kinds of research, but in the end, sometimes you have to go undercover to show the actual intent that is so shocking, the actual knowledge of people involved, that maybe their public face is, you know, very, very positive, maybe even pro-environment. And if you go undercover, you see how complicit so many steps of the chain are in the most horrible crimes that happen in the forest. So we go undercover in various ways. You know, sometimes you're the buyer. In this case, we were a seller, which was really extraordinary.
It was interesting,
and,
for you as well, that somebody suggested it to be a seller. How was that?
Yeah. And, well, it was entirely new, and I think it spoke to the kind of Wild West nature that the Romanian forest was, and unfortunately is in so many places in the world, that you can have somebody from incredibly far away just show up, and that it's perfectly normal that an American just shows up and says they have Romanian wood to sell to Romanians, basically. It shows how much of a commodity the forest has become, that is changing hands, you know, left and right, and making the illegality so easy to hide.
Yeah, because it's so difficult to tell. Could you immediately tell this is legal and this is illegal? This is for me as an outsider, huh? It's very difficult. How could you immediately see this is legal, this is illegal wood or timber?
That's why forests are in such trouble, because, you know, a lot of wood is legal and we love wood, and wood is great, and the trouble is that horrible crimes and environmental destruction can be hidden behind a product that looks exactly the same, like one that might be produced sustainably. So that's why it's so important that that solution that you started to see the glimmer of in the movie, of real traceability and being able to separate the good from the bad, is probably the only hope we have, unless we just want to say no to all wood, which I think we don't.
No. Ebba or Michaela, why did you really wanted to make this movie? Because also, well, we can talk about later that Alexander and many people who are investigating are also in danger, and especially when you film it. Ebba?
Why I wanted to make the movie is not so much now with the danger. I can talk about the danger later, but I wanted to make the movie because there were Austrian companies involved in Romania, and they were posing in Austria as very environmental. They were even giving a prize for environmental wood stuff, yeah. So, and in reality, you know, they go to, I always call it Wild East, you know, they go into the East and use whatever they can. And then they say, okay, I mean, what can we do? You know, it's such a pity, but they are so corrupt there. You know, we tried everything, but it just does not work out. But the reason was that exactly that was, I mean, it was the reason why they went there in the first place. So,
yeah, because you are Austrian yourself. You live in Vienna.
Yeah, I live in Vienna, and I've also, in my movies, I'm always interested in structural violence, you know, and this is a violence that's put upon people in Romania or in Siberia or in Peru or wherever, you know.
Well, let's talk about that Schweighofer, because when you actually confront them, then they seemed like, well, no, we don't do anything wrong. How is it also so that they might be thinking they're doing things legal, or is it?
And for sure, they are also doing things legal. They are not just doing illegal things.
No.
I mean, they are, but they just, you know, close their eyes with other stuff. And we did not, actually, we did not get into the things where there were more than very many more, which were on a different level than closing the eyes, because it was maybe in the first phase when they entered Romania that I don't know, that money was involved or whatever, you know, maybe not, maybe we did not get into the research.
No, but what I saw was in 2004 they already got access, or they bought so many forests already, Alexander, that so it's also the Romanian government who didn't stop that.
Oh yeah, there's certainly many parties involved, but you know, the truth is, if you hang out in Romania, and if you hang out in the forests of the world, and the forest sectors of the world, everybody knows if they spend some time there, and that's the truth that one knows if you hang out there. But of course, the public doesn't. And as I was saying, that's part of the reason for going undercover. And in this case, as we're saying, there was a very positive environmental veneer to this company and to the other actors, and showing that, look, if you walk in and you say, I am allowed to cut this much and I want to cut more, which was exactly the type of illegality that was plaguing Romania, and then you have the lead manager there say, send me that and I'll give you a bonus if you send me even more than that, is, you know, as close as you're going to get to a real window into what they're doing and their knowledge. And clearly they knew. Everybody knows they knew. And you know, certainly the whole population in Romania was fighting illegal logging, and that's what was so interesting to us when we saw it, the energy on the ground for addressing this problem. It's not like it wasn't known to the Romanian people. You know, everybody knew that it was a hotbed for illegal logging. So if you're the biggest companies there, you have a particular responsibility if you're going to choose to go there and look for your raw materials there.
Yeah, yeah. Who wants to react on that? Monica?
I mean, and if we look further on, actually the demand on the market and on the international market, it's very high. People demand all sorts of wood, timber, and so on. So they were responding to the request on the market, and they were needing a lot of logs, basically from the Romanian forest, and not only, because they are also bringing from countries around Romania a lot of wood because of this high demand. So they adapted very well to the dynamics of the country, of how Romania is working. Of course, if you have the high level friends in the government and so on, you can do good businesses, let's say. So it's a very classical system, I would say. It's not just them, it's everybody who's doing that, and not only in Romania. But thinking further, it's like, okay, so what we do, this high demand is ongoing. So how do we respond to this? What would be the, you know, the overcome, and how can we change this high demand of cheap wood? This is also on us, on every person, you know, watching the film and considering the environment and so on. So it's not an easy call, and Sasha is in the middle of this. And yeah, I mean, I believe there are some solutions in the long term, but I don't know. I don't know, Sasha, if you want to say more on that.
Well, right now you need to demand to know exactly where your wood is from. And it doesn't just go for fancy mahogany from the jungle. It goes for, you know, simple wood that you may be doing a project in your backyard with, because that is the type of wood that was coming from the last old growth forests of Europe in Romania, being stolen from communities that were finally given their land back after World War II and communism, and, you know, and extraordinary violence being financed by that. So we do not have the luxury to just buy wood without demanding from your store that they know exactly where it's from. And so local is the best, because then you have the best chance of knowing, you know, what the actual story is behind the wood. Yeah. What you see in the movie is that you know, that's hard to do, right, as the consumer, to be the investigator and find out exactly what's behind the wood. So what we're working very hard is to make that doable. You saw a system in Romania where the people put all that energy into a system that has moved the curtain back a bit on the truth behind the wood, and Romania has probably the best system right now of making a certain part of that more transparent, being able to track the trucks, as you saw in the movie. Way more needs to be done. The system is obviously resisting that. As Ebba was saying, it is a systemic violence, and the system does not give up easily. And it has so far resisted seeing all the way back into the forest and really getting to, you know, who owns it, and seeing the trees cut down with the same kind of technology, which is totally possible now. So you need to ask where the wood is from, and you need to support groups, as you saw in the movie, not us, but groups like Agent Green there, and all the people that are organizing to demand from their government to make the forest transparent. And then you have to demand from the companies you're buying from that they take advantage of that and tell you exactly where the wood is from.
Okay, that's a part of the solution. I want to go to Michaela. I'm sorry, it's hard to give everyone the. But well, you pulled Alexander into this film, so let's talk about what we said about also the danger, because it's such a big business, and because there's big money, there is and everybody wants to make the money. Then there's danger to reveal things. So what was the danger that Michaela, or that you all went into?
Sure, I would just add something to the discussion before, because I didn't have the chance earlier.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, do it.
So I think one of the reasons why I wanted to do the first film, but then also the film you could just watch now was that Sasha described now very well what the consumer can do. But the reason why I really wanted to do films with EIA and Alexander von Bismarck is really that they're using the evidence, that they're creating evidence no matter what. It's not about there's a film and we need evidence. They really produces evidence. They show this whole chain, of how the wood is cut illegally, and then where it ends up is the consumer, and they use that worldwide to change laws. And I think that is really a crucial thing, that you don't, it's important to show there's something wrong, but I really think it's even more important to use that to try to see, is our system still working? Can we, are we able with our government, with the form we have, to actually make laws which are going to prevent that? I think that's also a part which is super important. And then the danger, I think for us actually, specifically as filmmakers, it's we were not in the real undercover work. Most of the times you couldn't go there, because it was with hidden cameras, etc. And so I think it's really, on the one hand, because I had worked already with the EIA and Alexander von Bismarck, I trusted them also that, they don't go just somewhere and it's like random, something can happen. Of course, there's a risk, but I always felt this is very well planned, and, that's really an estimate, how do we deal with that? It's always more important that nobody is harmed. Meanwhile, there is a risk left. And then on the other hand, this undercover parts where you are somewhere, in China, let's say, in a factory. Of course, there's nobody, if they find out you have hidden cameras, there's nobody that can help you. But there, for example, the cameraman had to actually, use a camera and pretend to be the designer. So the film, we as filmmakers couldn't even go there. That's dangerous enough, but so this I think is important to see that also.
Yeah. What was for you, Alexander, the most, in terms of sort of danger? Where were you really scared, or where you thought, well, this can be a little tricky situation?
Yeah, the point about danger is that it is nothing compared to the danger for those fighting on the ground and continuing to fight on the ground, after, not leaving after maybe the investigation is done. So our role is generally to stand by the countless groups around the world, indigenous groups, historical communities, as was the case in Romania, who are defending their land, defending their forests. This is a story repeating itself every day, and unfortunately ending in violence far too often. People are getting killed, many people every year defending their forests, and sort of our role is to keep them safe, and in a way to try when we can to take some of the risk by releasing the information, when it's not a good idea for them to do it. Yeah. We've been doing it for a long time and work very hard to limit the danger. I really appreciate Michaela's point, because if you want to stand by those local people who are taking the danger, you can't always be the investigator, but you can push for laws in your country, in a maybe it's a rich country in Europe that is receiving a lot of wood, that demands that wood has to be legal and has to clearly state where it's from. We pushed for such a law in Europe, but it did not cover the wood in Romania. That was the big problem.
Yeah.
And right now, Europe is considering a law to ban the import of all the commodities that drive deforestation, and you should get involved in that and push for strong consequences there.
Yeah, yeah. Ebba, yeah, what do you want to add on on what is said already?
I thought no, right now nothing.
No, but the film has all kind of elements also in it. It has sort of thriller things, chasing people, or it has beautiful elements, but also sort of, for example, you see a training for undercover, of being.
Yeah, but this is part, for example, this is part for, it's a safety training. So it's also, you know, this gives you, I mean, the EIA does not let the young people who are working there just go out and, I don't know, do stuff. So
Yeah.
it's very good that all those specialists, you know, support them.
Yeah. So as a director, what choices did you make? Because I can imagine you have so much material, and what was the main thing you really wanted to tell and to add in the film?
It is difficult because you see it. That was, for example, I can tell you that the training, we had hours of training, and we loved the training. We loved so many aspects of this training because it also opens the eyes for undercover work. And since we were not since we were not doing the investigative work, but we were following somebody who does, it was very interesting for us. But then, for example, this scene shrunk and shrunk and shrunk and shrunk to what it was, because it could not hold in the whole context.
No, I can imagine. But Monica, I can also imagine that now the loggers and illegal loggings can also see this film. Was there also sort of element what you said, what you thought about, maybe we should not put that in the film?
I mean, in the editing room, yes.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
We had all kind of discussions about exposing some people that they didn't want, of course, but luckily they were saying that from the very beginning. So when we were shooting, so we didn't film with them. They were helping us a lot, but not exposing them. Yeah, there were many discussions in the editing, but yes, of course, we wanted to focus on the best narrative that could bring. And what I can say is that I really liked that somebody in Romania, after watching the film last summer, we had just very few real screenings with people, but with beautiful Q&As and very dynamic, and people were very interested in you know, and many people were saying, how can we help, how can we get involved? So that's something great from my perspective. But somebody said it's like an active documentary. So I like this active documentary idea. So I prefer to see it like that.
Yeah, Alexander, because you were, of course, it's also in that you dyed your hair because your ginger is very recognizable, and let your beard is. But now after this movie, everyone will recognize you. So how does your future look like if you will be undercover, a wig and a skirt like a woman or something like this?
I mean, our effort to bring change has to do with doing investigations and then bringing them out and telling the story. So we are always walking that line for making these decisions, because in the end, the best way to tell the story, even if it's not through a movie like this, is to have the person that was in the investigation tell it, whether it's to the politician to convince them to pass a law, or to the public to increase our awareness about these connections. So we're always fighting with that. We do our best. We bring new people in to do the work, and you know, to some extent, I have had my excitement. I will continue the work as much as I can.
Yeah, very
How it
good.
is.
I felt seeing this movie, I felt hope, but also despair. What is your feeling now in this business where you also say the entire industry is the whole entire industry is dependent on illegal practices? What is your feeling?
There's a lot of hope. You know, you saw it in the energy of the people in this movie. You know, to have demonstrations. If you have that energy, there is a lot you can do. And you know, Romania was so sensitized to their struggles with corruption, and generally the antidote to corruption is light, is transparency, right? And if you have energy to make things better, and then you add light, I think a lot of progress can happen. It will always be 2 steps forward and 1 step back, but it will be progress. We will lose more forest, unfortunately, but the fight to save as much as possible is there, and we will save it. And the more we can save of natural forest for our children to be able to enjoy it and see that amazing landscape with, you know, the last great population of wolves and bison coming back and bears, we can save great chunks of that and create a system where we are all working together to save it. The consumers, you know, the companies in the middle who would probably like to be able to run a business without being part of crime, you know, if they have a way to do it. And the people, most importantly, on the ground that are fighting to defend their forests. If we connect those in the same way that the global trading system is connected, there is a lot of hope.
Yeah. And because you said also in the trading, well, we have time, if you don't want a suspicion on you. But then I thought, yeah, well, do we have time? I mean, in the meantime, you know, the trees will be will be cut down.
I saw that scene in the movie too, and I was like, yeah, that's probably not how I wanted to put it.
No.
But it's a very important lesson for when you're in the field to not have that urgency drive you into making a mistake. You know, that's what I was saying there. The forest does not have time.
No.
We have to work incredibly hard. We do have to work safely so we can work again tomorrow. And particularly the people who are in the forest, defending the forest, we have to find ways to allow them to continue their fight safely and not take, you know, risks that they're doing now. So that's the fight, and it's all about supporting each other.
Yeah. And maybe for you or for the other three, because there's different solutions in the film, like sometimes bottom up and sometimes top down, because for example China is a completely other system. And so what do you suggest, or what are the best methods to solve this problem?
For me, I think the best methods on the consumer side is, on the one hand, to what Sasha said, to watch out and buy local. On the other hand, to buy less. I mean, it's also so, don't buy the non-durable stuff. I don't know, IKEA and friends. But buy something that's done, that lasts for, I don't know, 50 years or so. Then use less wood.
Yeah, because I think also I love wood, and it's sustainable and it's a natural product. You know, everyone, I love wood, and then you think, what should we consumers and everyone who's viewing this, to all 4 of you, I'll just start with Monica. What should we do?
I mean, what I can say, it's already being done in Romania, and this is bringing me a lot of joy. I mean, I could see in the past 10 years, people saying out loud, we want a better law for the forest. We will be here and we will watch you. So, I mean, it's incredible, but people are very aware now. And of course, the system is not giving up that easily. But in the same time, I can see, and everybody can see, that it's less a forest being cut, because there are some kids, young people, like guerrilla style in one part of the country, who are like following all the trucks, even though they don't have the tools. They are not professional, they are not Greenpeace, but they do stand, you know, for the forest. So we are more and more aware, and we fight. So this is another point of view.
Yeah, the awareness is very important. Michaela?
Yeah, I think, I can just join Monica in there. I think the very important message of the film is also don't give up hope. There's, you can do, we can all do something on the consumer side, but then also if you feel more, you can join that kind of fight. And I think that is also incredibly important to not forget that, because as you said, you saw the movie, on the one hand, give us hope, but then also despair, to not have the despair part take over, to say like, well, it's still some there, we have to fight for that, and it's possible.
Yeah. Sasha, you already said it a little bit. What are your final words? What do we have to do? And give us.
If you're in a company that's receiving a lot of wood and you're, is a consuming country, as you say, then work on laws, find other NGOs to support grassroots laws that prohibit the import of wood that is illegal and does not say exactly where it's from, and work on these new laws that are being discussed right now to deal with all the other commodities like soybeans and beef that are driving deforestation. That is a very active discussion in Europe right now, so be part of that discussion. Another part of hope is that with information technology, we are going to be able to connect the consumer much more closely to knowing where stuff is from. We're going to have an app come out in a few weeks that is just starting. So check on our website at eia.org for that app coming out. You can be part of building the first app that demands origin of all the products and creates a wiki database so you know where stuff is from.
Wow.
Get involved and don't buy stuff you don't know where it's from. I like Ebba's idea of buying less, and wood is beautiful, buy, like Ebba saying, buy stuff that lasts forever, because wood can do that.
Yeah. Ebba, you said already such a wise things, but in what way can this or a documentary make a difference?
I think our documentary really made a difference while we were making it. Whether it really can make a difference once it is shown in the movie theaters, it's one of the many. So, and maybe what I think is also that the EU bureaucrats should watch it, and then really that we get better laws on a European level, because right now they are quite toothless. Completely different from the laws in the US that are much better. But in the EU, it's on a level, the import laws are on a level that each country can define the penalties, for example.
Yeah.
So if they say you have to pay $15 if you, I don't know, did some criminal wood stuff, that's a pity.
Yeah.
And maybe Holland would be stricter,
Yeah. Just one final question to Sasha. Does this COVID pandemic did anything good or bad to the illegal logging, or what kind of influence had that as a final question?
Mostly bad in that people were able to get away with more. The forest became less transparent again, and people who were fighting to protect their forest were more alone again. So we have to, in a time like this where we're physically pushed apart, we have to redouble our efforts to be connected, and to those that are in the forest fighting that very dangerous fight. It was a tough year in that regard.
Yeah, Ebba.
Yeah, and on the other hand, COVID brings to our attention that the forest is not just there for the climate, and for our, when we can stroll during the limitations but it's also there, for example, the more you cut the forest, the more the viruses can jump over to the people.
Yeah, so that's a good last.
So it's also a good.
Yeah, the forest is very important to keep and use, but to replant and to do it safely. I want to thank you all very much for the beautiful and impressive documentary, and keep up the good work, and stay safe, stay healthy. Alexander, Ebba, Michaela, and Monica, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, and good luck with the festival.
Yes, thank you so much. Movies that matter, and this movie mattered really. Thanks.
Thanks.